Hey everyone, welcome back to GameSpot's E3 stage. We are here with another developer interview. I'm your host, Mike Mahardy, here with Rob Hanlery.
Hey.
And Andrew Galata from EA.
Hi, guys.
We are here to talk about Battlefield 1. It's got a
Yeah.
lot of DLC on the horizon.
Yeah.
Tell us what we were seeing yesterday, or the other day at EA's conference.
Yeah, so we had a few big announcements. We're revolutionizing the game in some big ways. The first thing is we've, of course, have our monthly updates that we just started in May. And we're bringing out Nouvelle Nights. That's coming out later this month. It's the first night map to Battlefield 1. And then later in July, we're also bringing out Prise de Terreur.
Nice.
I almost ruined that. Sorry to the French community. So that's the second night map that we're bringing out. And those both are extensions of They Shall Not Pass. So that's the first big thing. So there's some night maps. They're going to be trench warfare. Both of these things are what our community's been asking for. The second big change, of course, is in the Name of the Tsar. I mean, that's huge thing. This is the most extensive expansion pack we've ever brought. So we're doing 6 maps, more weapons, more vehicles, more gameplay changes. We're doing some big things. And that brings me to the third big stuff, change for this is the gameplay. So we're focusing on progression, and we're also focusing on operations. So we want to really update both of those and make them richer and deeper experiences.
I do want to get into In the Name of the Tsar content,
Yeah.
but first, with the night maps, how does that affect the actual moment-to-moment gameplay from Battlefield 1?
Yeah, I think with the night maps, you're going to have to change some of your tactics. You can't just go guns blazing all the time, because you're going to have a little bit of a limited visibility. We tried to do a really good job at balancing, and we were very sensitive about how we balanced out the lighting on the map, making sure that you can still see around you, still see some of your enemies, and still be competitive in this environment. But there still are going to be some very dark corners and nooks and crannies that you can hide in. And this changes the way that you play. I mean, someone could be around the corner, you don't know, so you have to listen into your audio, make sure that if you're listening to footsteps behind you or around you. There's some really cool things that are in this map. For Nouvelle Nights, we have, this is the big trench map, and it's actually a symmetrical map. So the trenches are kind of they're the same layout on both sides. So the way that we have made it where you can kind of locate where you are in the map is with the lighting. On one side, the German side, you have electric lights, you have spotlights and light bulbs lighting up. And that was true to history. The Germans, they fortified their trenches and they were there for the long haul. The French, you see they have fire and lanterns, and they have it's more organic style, and they were there thinking that it was going to be a quick battle. So they didn't spend a lot of time fortifying their trench. So for this, that's a great little tip to know where you are in the map, which direction are you facing, and then in between is a no man's land filled with tons of cover as you try to attack and defend both sides.
That seems to very much tie into, I would imagine, like an operations type mode for this. Is that correct?
So we won't have operations on this map, but
okay.
we do have Frontlines, which is the new game mode that was introduced with They Shall Not Pass. So that's being brought to the map as well.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you were just mentioning, the difference between the French and the German trenches, I assume there's just as much effort to have, lend some historical accuracy to the DLC as was the case with the main game, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, one of our big pillars is, of course, to be authentic. And so we do a ton of studies and research, and we work with historians to make sure that we're being authentic and true. And we are still making a game, so it's got to be fun. And so that's a big part of it. And for Battlefield 1, the big part for us is to tell the untold stories. What are the things that you might not have known about World War I? And we're thrilled that our players are getting really into it and excited about all the details that are going into this.
Yeah, I imagine a ton of research went into the Russian front, right? Because In the Name of the Tsar brings in a whole new army, new front, 6 new maps based in a more snowy tundra kind of area. Can you tell us what to expect with In the Name of the Tsar?
Yeah. So In the Name of the Tsar is moving our battles. We were in the Western Front for most of the game. So we're moving everyone over to the Eastern Front, the biggest front of World War I. And we're introducing the Russian army. With that comes four vehicles. We're going to be bringing an armored truck and the biggest bomber in Battlefield 1 called the Ilya Muromets.
It has 4 engines, it looks like.
It's huge. Yeah. This thing's giant, and it packs a punch with all the bombs. We also are bringing in a Y-Lighter landing craft, and this is a little boat to transport troops. And also, we're updating the cavalry unit. We're bringing a new cavalry unit we've enhanced it to introduce the Hussar. And these guys carry around a lance, and they run around very quick attacks, and you can impale your enemies and drag them off the battlefield. It's nuts.
That was definitely in the trailer.
Yeah.
Memorable moment.
Were there any kind of like major things with the base game that you wanted to maybe change or supplement with in the Name of the Tsar that really worked well in terms of like overarching systems or how the game just functioned as a whole? Was there anything you really wanted to address?
So of course we're always looking at ways to enhance the game, make it better. We're tweaking balance, making sure, listening to our community about what they want and where they feel like there might be some balance issues. But for in the Name of the Tsar, we are updating two big core areas. Progression. This is something our players really are passionate about, and we're doing it in two big ways. The first one is we're introducing all new assignments, and this is going to help the players have things to go after that are going to help kind of advance their career. And as you do so, we're going to also be bringing in what we're calling specializations. And these specializations are going to help you tailor your class to your playstyle. And it's something you haven't seen in Battlefield yet, and we're super excited to bring that.
Awesome. Can you go more into specializations?
Unfortunately, I can't. Yeah, I will have a lot more to share in the coming months.
Okay. But in terms of the 6 new maps and like just, you have the new Behemoth, which was the train with the snowplow on the front that we saw in the trailer when EA announced it at the press conference. You also have just like a whole new army, like presumably new weapons and everything.
Yes.
How do you even begin to tackle something this big with like an expansion of the game?
You know, it takes a lot of work, and it's a team effort, really. I mean, for us to really be able to execute on this. So our historian, they help us, and we have some people on the team that are experts of weapons, experts of vehicles, and so we do a deep dive study on everything around this particular part of the war, around Russia, around their involvement, and then we start laying out what can we bring to the game. One of the great things also we ended up coming across was the Women's Battalion of Death. This is an untold story that I didn't know about until we started really diving in. And these women were both capable and courageous. They would charge the front lines, often when the rest of the army wouldn't come and support them. And they would take ground. So we had to have them in the game. So we brought them in the game as the the scout class in the Russian army.
Yeah, we've seen the Russian front of like World War II in several like Call of Duty shooters. Like Call of Duty 2 had like Stalingrad and whatnot, but this is probably the first time that we're seeing the Russian front of World War I in a game.
Yes.
What's it like kind of setting the precedent?
You know, it's interesting. As we look at the world and what the landscape was at that time, you have to look at 1914 to 1918 and what were the landscapes, and we had to pull a lot of reference material down, and there's actually quite a few photos around that time, and it's a lot of history, a lot of written material, and so we really had to take some time to study about what does this world look like. So when we go to Lupkow Pass, the map that we're showing at EA Play, we have this is our mountainous ravines, and this is a really interesting location. It's the Carpathian Mountains, and there was a crossing in there that was a trading route, and it was really critical to the war. If you controlled that trading route, you can control how you supply your troops. So it was really important. The Austro-Hungarians had the hold, and the Russians were trying to take it. And that's the beginning of one of our operations that we're bringing, called Brusilov Offensive.
Yeah, every time you're looking back at like historical battles or wars that extended into Russia, like one of the main enemies for the invaders is the winter.
Yeah.
I imagine the weather must be playing into, like, especially with the dynamic weather that Battlefield 1 has kind of come to be known for. I imagine we'll be seeing blizzards or something.
You absolutely will. Okay. So we have the daylight, of course, that goes into snow. We're going to have blizzards. But unlike what you might have seen in some other maps where sometimes like storms would come and they might stay for a long time, the blizzards are going to come and go, and we'll see if but they will hinder your visibility. They are going to affect you and how your strategy of how you're going to play the map, and you can check it out right now at EA Play up through the end of today, and we'll have a lot more to share with that in the coming months.
That's actually pretty interesting how you mentioned the weather being shorter opposed to longer, because I know that like in some of the desert maps, the longer the storm, you can make that preparation. Okay, I'm going to shift to a shotgun and stick with it. But it sounds like could you speak on maybe like how long are these changes in weather? Because it just seems to be in the case of I'm just going to play a little differently for maybe a few minutes and then get back into like
Yeah, I mean, you mean as far as changing your loadout? You know, that's a tough one because weather it's dynamic. It's going to happen on the fly, and it's not something that we've programmed necessarily. Like, oh, 15 minutes of this, and then it's going. So it's going to just kind of occur.
Yeah.
And but we're programming it to be something that comes and goes and ebbs and flows through the match. But yeah, no. So yeah, you will have to change some of your tactics, but I think it's going to be how you handle the map and where you go in the direction of which points are you trying to control.
Sure.
You mentioned Novell Knights, the one we just saw gameplay of. That's more of a symmetrical map with the no man's land in the middle, the trench on each side, like what you would think of when you think of World War I. When you have 6 new maps to work with in the Name of the Tsar DLC, is there a specific kind of map you're going for, or like does having 6 different ones allow you to say this could be a symmetrical one, this could be more of like a long range oriented one, this can be more of like a battle meeting in the center one? Are there any kind of new maps that DICE wanted to tackle with the level design specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually very similar to what you're saying for the second half, right? Like we are looking at the whole package, right? What have we already shown in Battlefield, and what can we show, right? We've already shown maps that are symmetrical. We've already shown maps that take place in different regions, and so what's new? What can we do that's new? So with Loop Cow Pass, for example, it's a mountainous ravine, so you have a lot of vertical gameplay, a lot of these changes in the environment with whether you're in the ravines, these rocky ravines, or whether you're in the tree lines. So those are the things that we're looking at, and how can we change the gameplay when we go into each of the maps. So some of the other maps that we're bringing, I can talk about 3 more outside of Loop Cow Pass, and then the other 2 we have to hold until later. I wish I could tell you guys more. But for these other 3, we have Galicia. It's a valley map. So this is going to be the one that's going to share how wide and expansive the Eastern Front really is. And it's going to be one that you want to use a lot of your vehicles for. Then we go into, that's the beginning of the Brusilov operations, by the way. You're going to work your way up the Carpathian Mountains up to the Brusilov Keep. And this is a little town up in the mountains. So you're going to have a little more urban gameplay. And then you're going to go down into the Peninsula Islands, and these islands it's kind of a lock of islands that you're going to be able to go in and out of, and this is when the German troops were trying to advance onto Russian territory, and so the Russians were fending them off using large coastal battery cannons.
Dang, sounds.
Is that where you mentioned the Russian amphibious boat?
Yeah.
That's going to carry troops? That seems like appropriate.
That's exactly right. So that's why we're introducing this boat. We know that sometimes swimming may not be the funnest thing. Sure. So you have a boat, you can travel in between the islands and make your way to the capture points.
Awesome.
Cool. Is there anything else you wanted to add that we didn't ask you about before we close out?
You know, we're thrilled to be bringing everybody to the Eastern Front and be able to show more of what we're doing. And we're just for us, the big thing is we're bringing the new changes to the game that are going to revolutionize how you play, revolutionize where you're going, and we're bringing it to you in all new ways, like with our monthly updates. So, yeah, I'm really excited, and I hope everyone enjoys all the content.
Cool. Andrew Galata, thank you so much for coming on our E3 stage.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I had fun. Anybody watching from home, we will have more coming from Battlefield 1 and the Name of the Tsar. We'll have capture gameplay going up on GameSpot throughout the week, and then news from just every other press conference and a lot of demos up here on the stage. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We'll see you then.